What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Traveling Trader. Happy Tuesday to you. For those of you that are in the US, I hope you had a great long weekend, as yesterday was Labor Day. But we are back to trading today, so let us get right into it. I wanted to talk about Bitcoin and its recent pump and how we played that. What levels did we buy Bitcoin at? What levels are we looking to sell? What levels are we looking to re-enter Bitcoin after this recent pump? And then I wanted to go over a little bit of Bitcoin's history and as it relates to the halvings, and at what point does Bitcoin hit its previous all-time high? The last two halvings, it happened after the halving, meaning that we have not seen Bitcoin reach its all-time high price again until after the halving. As you know, the next halving is in 2020. In May. Does that mean that we have to wait until at least May to see the all-time high? Well, we'll look at the chart and examine what the possibilities are. Let us get right into it. I do want to start off by saying congratulations to CoinRaker. This is a user on our Diamond Traders group. As you know or may not know, I do a 0.03 Bitcoin drawing at the first of every month for the Diamond Traders and above, just as a way of giving back and saying thanks for being a part of the community. And if you want access to the trade alerts or you need help with your technical analysis and would like one-on-one coaching with me, that link is in the description, and you are automatically entered for the 0.03 Bitcoin drawing if you sign up to the Diamond Traders and above. So let us get right into Bitcoin. As you see here, Bitcoin is now trading at around 10,650. We did see a pump after a lull over the weekend, right? Bitcoin was trading in this tight sideways range, and we had the Bitcoin volatility was at a recent low. And if you recall, I was saying a few videos ago that there is a pretty big move that usually happens after Bitcoin or any asset for that matter is under a very low relative volatility, when it's trading in a very tight range. And another way that you can look at this actually is if you pull up something like the Bollinger Bands. You can actually see this pretty clearly because the Bollinger Bands essentially gives you a mean and then a couple of standard deviations above and below that mean. The mean is this red line here. If I remove the moving averages, you might be able to see it more clearly, but essentially it gives you a range, and once that range starts tightening as it did here, as it did recently, although not as tight as we saw back in March, and you see Bitcoin or any asset that you're looking at trading at the lower band, then you can justify an entry, obviously a reasonable entry with a stop limit, expecting it to regress at least to the mean, if not above, as we did in this case, right? Because the lower band represents two standard deviations away from the mean. So looking at that, essentially I did have a buy order on Bitcoin at 9,200. We did fall to 9,300, which it just missed. That happens sometimes. You can't get mad over that. That's just what you have to expect in the markets, that sometimes your orders will slightly miss and pass you by. However, I did send out a trade alert in the trade alerts on our Discord for a leveraged position on BTC at current levels, right? And that level was around 97.81. And the reason is because of this Bollinger Band activity, as well as the fact that the momentum, if you look at the RSI and the MACD, the momentum was starting to gain upward. So I thought that there was a scalp to at least 9,900. And I set a trailing stop, although we kept moving up and we're now at 10,650. So definitely not an expected move. However, we were able to take advantage of that just because of the fact that we got in at an optimal level. That is the important part. That's what I keep saying, is make sure that when you do buy something, you buy in at an optimal level. Even if you're dollar cost averaging, I like dollar cost averaging when prices are at discounted levels. And how do you know that they're at discounted levels? Well, if they're near the support levels, right, established support levels, then I consider that a pretty optimal position to keep scaling in at if you're dollar cost averaging. Anyway, the question on everybody's mind is, will Bitcoin sustain this pump? Will we see, a rally that will propel us to all-time highs from here? Obviously, everyone gets optimistic once we see a little pump. However, now that Bitcoin is back in this symmetrical triangle, I do, our first target is the top Bollinger Band here. So that's at around 10,900. And then the next resistance level will be the resistance of the symmetrical triangle, which is around 11,400. So those two levels I would target as, a potential resistance point for for Bitcoin. And one thing that is worrying me a little bit, and obviously this could change over time, but the volume is not that great compared to some of these moves that we saw back here in June. We do want to see this volume kick up. Now, one thing that could propel this volume is if you look at the shorts. Man, shorts, look at this is on the 4 hour. So this is 5 a.m. This candle here is 5 a.m. But look at the level of the shorts right here. They're just rising astronomically, meaning most traders or at least a large portion of traders are expecting Bitcoin to fall from here because they don't believe in this pump. So everyone was surprised by this pump, and the extent of it, I'm also surprised by, right? I did think we would pump. That's why I sent out that trade alert, but I didn't think we'd get to the level of 10,600. And no, this wasn't due to a short squeeze. If you look here, there weren't that many shorts to begin with at that level, right? This candle right here, this just happened at 5 in the morning, West Coast time. So the shorts just started climbing after this activity happened on Bitcoin because, like I said, a good segment of the market does not believe that this is a rally. They believe that this is a sucker's rally or a bull trap, right? And I said this before and I'll say it again, the one of the most reliable ways to identify a bull trap, and really in crypto, the only way to identify a bull trap is by volume. If you see a move like this happen and it's not accompanied by major volume, then you can expect it to break down at some point, right? And again, I'm targeting the top band of the Bollinger Bands as a resistance level, as well as the resistance of this symmetrical triangle. And I will probably be shorting at some point. Now, it does not mean that I'm not bullish on Bitcoin long term, and we'll get into Bitcoin's price long term right after I talk about altcoins for a second. So in terms of altcoin trades, they are very sparse versus BTC. There aren't many altcoin trades versus BTC. We did have a successful one on Engine Coin. This was something that we entered at, actually let me get off the daily and look at the 4 hour, but we entered Engine Coin at the breakout of this triangle here and rode it. I put a trailing stop limit and managed to stop out for profit at around the 850 range, which we see this long wick taking us to the, what was it? Around 880. So we took profit on Engine Coin, and I'm not looking to re-enter really until we potentially break out of this pattern again. But the altcoins versus BTC are pretty sparse. You see Litecoin here forming still respecting this trend line here, this teal trend line, right, which is a downtrend. And every time it hits that teal trend line or comes close to it, we see a price crash from there, right? This is on the 4 hour, and it's having a tough time staying above even the 50 moving average, which is this orange line, right? Every time it hits it or comes close to it, we tend to see a breakdown of price, and we're just above it now, hitting this resistance on the downtrend. And again, trend is your friend until it isn't, or trend is your friend until the end, and you can keep playing the trend as long as you have reasonable stop limits in place and continue to try to profit off of that trend, off of swings within that trend. And I'll be looking to place a short on Litecoin as well, same as Ethereum, which has a very similar pattern. Look at this, very similar pattern to Litecoin, right? And Ethereum also is struggling to get above the 50-day moving average, something that it just blipped above now, but it's hitting resistance of the downtrend, and I'm shorting Ethereum as well. Looking at XRP is almost like a stable coin. Really, in most of August, you see it trading here within this range between 24 cents and 26 cents. I did buy XRP here, as this is historically a support level going all the way back to last year, over a year now, where we typically see a bounce from. And I think it's pretty safe to accumulate XRP at this range here. All right, so going back to Bitcoin on the longer term charts, you see this is on the weekly chart, and this is the 21 EMA that I say that I've been saying that it would be weird if we don't actually touch it pretty soon. And it would be the longest time in history that Bitcoin's gone without touching the 21 EMA. And we're not even talking about the 200 MA, which, obviously is in the cards at some point. I don't think around this time we would target. I'm targeting anything below the 21 EMA. But even looking here at the volume, this pump here, even though it's early in the week, is still not great compared to some of the other volume bars that we've seen, some of these other pumps, right? So I do think that we will still break down in the short term. However, I am bullish long term. I do think that we will break the swing highs of around 14,000. It might even happen before the end of the year if we get a Christmas rally. And the sooner that we retest this, the sooner that we can comfortably and gradually rally from there, knowing that we've already tested the 21 weekly EMA. Now, here's what I wanted to pull your attention to here real quick. So looking at, this is the Brave New Coin Liquid Index for Bitcoin. I think it has the most data ever that you see on TradingView for Bitcoin, right? As far back as Bitcoin was able to be traded on exchanges, this Brave New Coin Liquid Index has been tracking Bitcoin. So this goes all the way back to 2010. Now, these magenta lines you see here are the halvings that happen on Bitcoin. This one is the future halving that's going to happen May 2020. And if you see here, Bitcoin has not retested the all-time high until after the halving, right? So here you see the halving that happened on November 1st, 2012, and we did not retest the all-time high until March 2013, right? The high that we saw back in June or May or June 2011. Same thing here. This halving that happened in July 2016, we didn't retest this all-time high that we saw back in November 2013 until after the halving in December 2016. And so by that logic, or I guess by that pattern, not really logic, we won't see 20K until after May 2020. Now, is that such a bad thing? No, I mean, that's actually pretty realistic. Now, obviously, we've only had two halvings before, so the sample size is small, and you can't really base, you can't be 100% certain that the markets will do exactly what it did before, right? So, between this all-time high and this all-time high was 630 days. Between these two was 1,134 days. Who knows what it will be here, right? If we measure out at least 1,134 days, you'll see that it occurs after the halving date of May 2020, right? So here's 1134 days here. So it would happen sometime January 2021, according to this date range. Now, obviously, this is the market and anything could happen. We could see an all-time high before the halving. But if it does happen this way, it's actually not so bad, and it does fall in line with what we've seen previously in terms of gradual run-ups, right? One thing I will say is the pattern is more important than the length of time. As you know, I'm not a fan of time predictions. We're not fortune tellers, right? I'm not looking to say something is going to be a certain price by a certain date. That does not serve me at any point. All I'm looking to do is live to trade another day and make sound decisions based on what I see in the markets, right? What is the most plausible move? And then do I have a plan to act accordingly instead of being highly reactive and not really expecting something in the market or expecting something too late in the market, right? So that's really all I'm trying to do. So I don't care whether it's, did it happen in 630 days or 1134 days? I don't care. However, the overall pattern is what I'm looking at. And the overall pattern, you have this rounding bottom pattern, right? You do have it in the previous run-ups as well, right? You had this rounding or variations of this rounding bottom. This looks more like an Adam and Eve, but you still have this rounding bottom pattern happening here. You have this long rounding bottom pattern happening here, and you have it happening here as well, right? And so that's all that matters to me, because this is a bullish continuation pattern. When you have these rounding bottoms, these are bullish continuation patterns. So whether this extends all the way out to, January 2021 or up until the halving, it doesn't matter if it happens before or whatever. All I'm concerned about is, do we have a pattern that supports that sustained level of growth? And yes, we do. And I do believe we will eventually see all-time highs. So for those of you that are dollar cost averaging and you're not swing trading, don't be hard on yourself. Don't get down on yourself. Dollar cost averaging is a viable strategy if you're not a swing trader, and you can continue to do so to get the best price for when Bitcoin does eventually break all-time highs. And I've shared this before on the Woo Bull price models, you'll see here that this supports an all-time high of at least $56,000 or $57,000, right? It doesn't tell you when it's going to happen, but again, I don't care about when. I care only about whether it's going to happen, right? I care only about the pattern that Bitcoin is showing currently and whether that pattern does support a gradual growth that breaks previous all-time highs. Anyway, that is it for this video. Sign up if you want access to the trade alerts. Again, the Diamond Traders and above gives you access to the trade alerts, the private group voice chats that we do weekly. You also get to interact with the community of traders that we have. We talk trades, strategies, entry points, exit points, market news, etc. All of that happens on the Discord. If you're part of the Diamond Traders, you also get access to the stock trade alerts as well. Now, I will be actually discontinuing, most likely in the future, I will be discontinuing the Patreon, right? And so those prices that you see on the Patreon will probably no longer be in effect. I'm in the middle of creating my brand new website, and you'll be able to sign up directly on the website, hopefully using BTC as well for those of you that want to pay in crypto. But I will be discontinuing the Patreon in the future. But those of you that are already signed up to the Patreon, I will grandfather you in. And so if you do want to take advantage of those prices, now is the time to sign up, because those most likely will be changing in the future. And once I switch over to my own website, I will be raising the prices up slightly for those packages. Shout out to CoinRaker. Congratulations on the 0.03 Bitcoin that you won in the Bitcoin drawing. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, leave a comment if you have a question, comment, agreement, disagreement, etc. Leave that in the comment section below. Stay safe out there, traders. Peace.